the only thing with this one. I have to remember to do that. And I don't know how long Becky's going to be. So, no, maybe she'll come back. Then, Alex, what I'm going to do today is explain what the masterclass is about, explain how the whole club thing works, the membership, how you wonderful unicorns. Those of you, and that will only be you, Elaine, at the moment, who haven't booked in a one-to-one with me to put your strategy together, we need to do that.
Yes, okay. Have my diary here.
Good, we can do that as well then, because I've got Becky today. Straight after this, I've got to get down to Blandford for Becky.
Oh, wow.
Hazel on Friday. I've done Sarah's, so Sarah Ali Chowdhury, not Sarah Mills.
Right.
Gosh.
Yeah, Sarah Ali Chowdhury, if any of you don't know her, is an authentic award-winning Indian chef, but she calls herself a mum and a cook. And she does lots of demonstrations and things. And the funny thing is, I have to say, I do not like Indian food. Well, no, I never thought I liked Indian food. It was always too spicy, hardly, never went near it. She made me a chicken biryani. I'm like, all right, I'll give it a go. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was really, really nice, and it was really mild.
Yeah, because I don't do spicy stuff.
No, but and she said to me, well, I feed it to my children. I'm not going to burn their mouths out, am I? So, so there we go. That was really nice. So, yeah, her thing is about doing her demonstrations and she wants to be famous as a TV chef. So,
next week's looking okay. So we'll sort that later, shall we?
We'll sort that later.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get going. Becky can sort of hear while she's talking to somebody else. And, us women can do these things at the same time. So welcome, unicorns. It is really, really nice to see you again. Yes, I know it all seems a bit silly, calling you unicorns, but you're all going to be awesome speakers within your field of work. So that's why. And I think unicorns are awesome. So I run the club. You have to go with me. What your membership entails, if you're not absolutely sure, is you virtually have your own personal speaking coach. So what we're going to do is, with each one of you, we're going to sit down and work out a strategy in terms of where you feel you want to go in terms of speaking to grow your business. So for some of you, it might be I want to do more video. For some of you, it may be I want to coach online. For Hazel, she has, apart from the normal ones, she has a different sort of thing going on because she does card reading and she's a clairvoyant and she's a medium.
Yeah.
And she has to learn to speak in her own voice while speaking in somebody else's voice. So that's a really interesting one we're working on.
Yes.
Just to tell people that one. I love it. Fascinating. So, yeah, it may be simple stuff or it may be more complicated, but we will work out a strategy that works for you and how we're going to get there and how we're going to give you the confidence to speak. And I'm not going to turn you into public speakers per se. I hate that, but per se, unless you want to be. But we're going to make you effective, confident speakers. That's the point.
Yeah.
So you will be able to access me at any time. You're allowed to email, ring me, apart from after 8 o'clock at night and before 10 o'clock in the morning, because I'm not very good during those times. I'm usually in bed going, ow, I hurt now. But you have access to me and you can pick my brains, or we can meet, or we can do a coaching session, or we can, go through scripts, anything like that, anything you need. There will be a monthly masterclass like this one today. And today we're going to talk about where you should be preparing to speak and just thinking about that whole thing around the bigger picture of speaking online and off. Okay. We will possibly have a question and answer session chucked in a little bit further down the line when you've got all those questions coming in. So, and I will be interviewing you all for podcast, and I will be getting you slots if it comes through me on other people's podcasts and other people's events if you want to. So often people will come to me and go, and I've spoken at their events and they're always looking for people. So if you've been through the club, I'm happy to recommend you. I'm a bit wary of recommending outside of the club because I don't know how good you're all going to be. And that just pushes my fame up a little bit because people go, oh, well, she's trained with them. She's a unicorn. She'll do. All right. So, any questions at that point?
No.
No. Yeah.
Anything else you need within the membership that I haven't thought of, let me know. So there is also workbooks, because there's a free membership that goes on, and in there it's just they get the workbooks and just bits and pieces, and the odd live video streaming I've done and I put in there. They don't get this, but they do get some resources. So you will have access to that as well. So if you want the workbooks and any of the templates and things, that's where you'll get them from. But I will make sure you know your way around the system. Trying to keep it as simple as possible. I'm trying to make sure you don't have to keep going in and do courses, because actually I never do. I've joined so many and find I don't have the time to keep going into their website. So I want to keep it all as live as possible for you, so you don't then have to go looking for something, but let me know. Okay, so let us move on, because the one thing you're going to learn about me is let's get on with it. Let's not chat for hours. Let's just get going. So I now need to share my screen. So bear with me while I try to do this. Yeah, right. So you can see my screen.
Oh, yes.
Woo. I haven't done this bit before. So what we're doing is it's where you should be speaking. So it's about finding ideal clients, finding out who you should be speaking to them, where you should be speaking, all that sort of stuff. So let's look at who you need to talk to. The first thing is you've got to think about is you can't talk to everybody. It's just not humanly possible. Right? You can only talk to the people who want to work with you. We talk about the ideal, everybody talks about the ideal client. Not necessarily a person. For some people, it's a point in time. For instance, you, Hazel, and your holistic healing, it may be someone who has got to the point where the pain threshold's too much and nothing else has worked. It may be because conventional medicine has, whatever that may be. So you will be talking to probably a wide range of people, but you're talking about a point in time for that person. The same with you, Elaine, and your products. You're talking to people that are ready to buy into that, or ready to start a business, or any of those sorts of things. And I think all of you will have that sort of person in your head. Now, I tend to work predominantly with women because I prefer working with women, because men seem to think they know how to speak. I don't know why they think that, because usually they're rubbish. And there aren't that many women on a public speaking stage. Women, we are very laid back about actually getting out there and shouting about how brilliant we are. For some reason, we're the gentle, more laid back, and we don't boast, and we don't do things, but that's what we've been brought up to believe, and we don't talk about ourselves, and we just worry about everybody else. Well, I'm here to tell you, ladies, no more, because if you're not talking about your business, somebody else is, and you want your business to be talked about by you, not other people when you don't know what they're saying. So finding those people and where they hang out is absolutely vital. Your clients may not necessarily want online coaching. So why would you learn about to coach online if that's not what your audience needs? You may think about doing online demonstrations because you do offline demonstrations. And the reason I say that is because Sarah Ali Chowdhury finds, and we pointed this out to her, when she's doing her cooking demonstration, she's in a huge tent, in a big kitchen, these mobile kitchen things. It's tiny, so she loses herself in amongst this big kitchen. And people aren't getting, so what she's doing now is taking what she's done there and bringing it and live streaming her demonstration on how to cook a curry, a biryani, a poppadom, or whatever it may be. So it's about knowing who you're talking to, where they are, and how they want to hear you. And that one is the one you have to really think about. That's the one. Do you need to be live streaming because that's where they are? If you're dealing with anyone under the age of 24, yes, you need to be live streaming, because all the kids under 24 now have got their phones and their tabs, and that's what they do. Do you deal with people who actually are not online much at all, they can just about get onto Facebook? Then you're not going to be wanting to do big webinars or coaching calls. You may decide that actually online speaking is not where you need to be at all, and you need to be finding more. So you need to do that. So what I want you to think about is, and it's just like marketing, who it is you need to be talking to, where they are, and how they need to hear you. That is absolutely vital. Otherwise, you are going to waste your time and your energy and your nerves and your fears and all your angst talking to a bunch of people who will never, ever really buy into what you're saying. And I use the analogy of, do not be a vegan talking to a conference of butchers. It is not going to work. It's just a waste of time. And I know we all think, oh, I need to talk to everybody and I need to get as many people hearing. That's okay, but we're all very busy people, really busy people, and talking, speaking, online and offline takes time. It takes time to prepare and it takes time to do. You don't want to be wasting that time on people that you know are never going to listen to you. Okay. Now, the other thing about that is also, you know, I have a particular style. I'm a bit wacky. I talk about unicorns. I talk about magic. I've got pink hair. I've got all of that. So the way I speak and the way people hear me is the way I want you to see me. Because that means you know what you're getting. You know what you're going to be working with. People that are very corporate in suits and things, 9 times, maybe 8 times out of 10, aren't going to work with me. They consider me a little bit too fluffy. However, they haven't actually met me in a coaching room where fluffy is anything but that's the way you need to think. Your brand, you have to speak in your brand, and you have to be yourself. That is really important, because once you learn to be yourself and speak in your own words, it's less scary, much less scary. Right. So let's just have a look at this. Right? Why do you need to speak? You need to have one of these approaches when you're speaking to the audience. You know, I'm going to have to tell you something. When you do video, I will always teach you to look at the camera up there. When you use this platform, I've got a picture of you down the side. And I keep wanting to talk to the picture. The camera. It's really... I'm having to be very disciplined. Right, sorry. So, one of those approaches is you're speaking to change people's minds. So it may not necessarily be that particular time when you're speaking, you're trying to sell anything. You want to change minds. You may be speaking to sell, or you may be speaking to inform. So you have to know which one of those 3 things you're working on before you start to speak. Because if you're there to change minds and you give them a sales pitch, they will not change their mind. They will continue to sit there going, I'm not listening to this. She's just trying to sell me something. You're trying to sell something, but you're doing a nice, warm, fluffy sort of change mind tone. People won't know what they're supposed to do. And as humans, we want to know what we're supposed to do. If you want to inform people about something, then it's very direct and you have to have a very, very, very clear message. And they don't want you to be selling them things. Some of it may interchange a bit depending on the length of your speech. And as we get more into this, you'll begin to understand about putting these sort of things together and making whatever your talk or your speech is effective. So let's think about this changing minds thing. How many of you think that you may talk to groups of people to change minds?
Me. Yeah.
Definitely Hazel, definitely. Becky?
Sometimes, because people don't know what rapid transformational therapy is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Elaine, what do you think about changing minds?
Yeah, definitely, because I think quite often people have preconceived ideas about certain natural products,
Yep.
and also about multi-level marketing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if you do a talk to change minds, for instance, a lot of the women's groups, the WI and all those, have people come in to speak. and they do not expect those speakers to sell.
No.
However, if you're talking to them about changing their minds, about understanding about transformational therapy, about mediumship not being evil and all that sort of stuff, or holistic energy, holistic, healing and all your products, if you get that talk right and you get a really lovely call to action, people will come and look for you afterwards. Because you'll have drawn them in slowly, you'll have changed their minds, and once you've changed somebody's mind, they want to find out more. They probably want to try it. They're probably a little bit more curious. So that's quite a powerful talk to do, that changing minds thing, because people, if they know they're not going to be sold to, will relax and will listen to you. So the changing mind ones is a much easier talk to give. When you're there to sell, that's a tough one. And I talk about, if you go to any networking group, most of us walk into, unless we've been to for a long time and we understand the group, but certainly if I go to a new networking group, my initial thought is they're all going to try and sell me something, and I've shut down.
Yeah.
No, don't want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And if they think that's why they're there, to be sold to, you've got an uphill battle, because most people just shut down. That's why I talk a lot about tell them what problem you're going to solve, because then they open their ears again. So if it's just to sell, you need to look at how you do that. Now, one of the things may be, a lady I've been working with is doing one of these TV selling program things, when you sell on TV. Well, people are there to be sold to. And our natural reaction is not to want to buy. Even though we're all shopaholics, our initial reaction is not to want to buy. So those talks are very difficult, really difficult. So if you ever find that that's one of those that you're just going in to sell, you really have to consider how you're going to craft that in a way that you start breaking down everybody's misconceptions and breaking it down to actually you have a solution to a problem they desperately need. So actually it's about selling without selling. And when I say to people, when you do talks, you never ever sell anything. You show people what they need at a given time. That's what people buy. Okay? It's like me and shoes. I love shoes. I buy shoes I can't even wear because they're really pretty. And that sounds a bit like I don't have a problem with shoes, but actually I just love the art of shoes. So if somebody says to me, I've got this beautiful shoe and it's really artistic, it's like nothing else you've ever seen, they tapped into my emotional thoughts of, ooh, gotta see that. So they haven't sold anything to me, they've shown me something that I need. In my head, I need it. So think about that when you get to selling. To inform. Now, this is often something that people do that they get badly wrong. To inform, you can only have one message. So say, for instance, you're doing a video. And it's your front page website video. To inform people who you are and what your website's about. That's all it needs to do. If you try to say in your video there who you are, what you do, why you do it, what's on each page of your website, and if you go here and there and everywhere, people have gone, they've lost. It's too much information. We're basically quite stupid, us people, really. We only take one thing at a time. That's all we can cope with. So you have to know, if you're informing people about something, what you need to tell them and where it needs to go. Questions, anybody? So who thinks they probably do any one of those three at different times, or intermingle a bit?
Do all of them.
They all in. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, they do, all of them.
Yeah.
But they have very different approaches. That's what I'm trying to say to you. If you don't use the same one to change minds as you would to sell or you would to inform, never that simple. Because when you talk to somebody, you're getting into their heads, really into their heads, and that's the most important thing. Get into their heads.
I need to change my front website now, Paige.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the thing about your front web page is what you have to remember is statistically, apparently, people will 3 to 6 seconds on your front page of your website. So if it doesn't grab them, then they've gone. And your if you've got a video on there, it has to have something that grabs them the minute they get there. A really good opening line, which we're going to come on to another masterclass, your opening line. Because wherever you are, it's that first sentence that people are either going to go, or wow. That first sentence. No pressure then on your first sentence.
No.
So often, my first sentence to people will be when I'm talking, to a group is, if you hate public speaking, get over yourself. Most people go, what? It's been a bit rude, but it's got them. It's got their attention, and then I can explain it. And you have to think about how you pull them in, because if you lose them in that first sort of 3 to 6 seconds, you've got an uphill battle to pull them back in again. Okay, so moving on to, right. So how many ways are there to communicate with the rest of the world? Yes.
You spelled there wrong.
Well spotted. Now I know Hazel's taking that too.
Sorry, I'm just, I'm a bit of a stippler for grammar.
That's fine. I will change it later. So, how many ways do you think there are to communicate with the rest of the world?
Too many.
Too many to count, really. If you think about it. I've got to stop looking over there. Too many if you think about it, especially over the years. I mean, way back to the days of the caveman, we've always found a way to communicate. All that's happened is, funnily enough, the more clever we've got with technology, the less we use to communicate. So in all this day, we've got computers and phones and God only knows what. We communicate with people less and less and less in the right way. And I think that's quite sad. And I worry about our future generation, to be fair. However, you can only communicate with your own voice. That's the thing to remember. Only your voice that you need to use. You can't use other people. You have these numerous tools to use, but it still has to be you in your voice. With a little help from me. And when I say your voice, I mean your brand, the way you talk, your personality, you. Just you, yourself. You're the one who has to talk and communicate with the rest of the world. So let's have a look at some of the things you can do that with. That's why you can't do smoke signals anymore. Not unless you're really clever at smoke signals and the other person knows how to translate them. Podcasts are the best and the easiest way to get your voice out there. Because loads of people do podcasts, and loads of people are always looking for guests. And the thing about that is that you reach an audience you'd never been able to reach before. You reach an audience, if you get onto the right podcast, you could be reaching an audience of thousands. I was part of a tele-summit last week, and I was on with a panel, and they had an audience of 3 million.
Wow.
3 million people I would never have been able to get in front of at any other time. And that is why speaking about your business in your own voice is so powerful. I'm not saying 3 million people have suddenly rung me up and want to work with me. No, they haven't. A couple of people have emailed me and said, oh, that's really interesting. But now I can build a relationship with them. 3 people I wouldn't have known where they were before. So podcast is really nice. And because you become a podcast guest, all you have to do is answer questions. So that's not really scary, is it? Has anybody done a podcast?
No.
No? Well, you're going to be doing mine. We'll be booking you all in to do mine. So Jill does a podcast. She's always looking for people for her podcast. And the podcast goes out to iTunes. Look how many people watch iTunes. My podcast goes out on a Podbean site I use. I have it on my website, everywhere. And do you know where I get my podcast from? Because it's only audio. From a video I do. For instance, this video I'm doing with you, when it's recorded, I could just take the recording audio, turn it into a podcast. Or I've got a vlog. or I transcribe and I've got a blog. So speaking also allows you to build up content. Some people start with the blog, then read the blog. You go the other way around, but that always seems a bit, just do it worst way around. And today, they're not perfect yet, but we got software now that will take the sound, the audio sound, and put it into text. Google do one. And often when I'm doing a live stream, I'll have one computer running the software to put it into words whilst I'm talking and streaming to somewhere else. Because I hate writing, I'm not, all I have to do is tidy up the blog. Very clever, the stuff we have today.
I think that's one of the things that can be quite scary, I think, as well.
Yeah.
There's so many, as you say, there are so many different things. And when I look at some of the younger people in my business, in Forever generally, not just my team, they are doing all sorts of things that people like me in their 60s, you're saying before, find a little bit nerve-wracking and just find a bit fearful. So, but certainly I think we still need to, like you have, get a hand on these and actually, use these different methods.
It's important. And the thing here is you can practice here. That's the great thing. You can come in and you can practice till you're happy with it. And it is scary to start with, but as you get to do it, you realise, actually, that's not as scary as I thought. So
the thing, Bev, though, is that lots of these things can be quite time-consuming as well. Like like having a blog or a vlog, and that sort of thing.
That's why the strategy is really important, and you figure out what bits you're going to do that are going to work for you in your business, rather than trying to do all of them.
Yeah.
I have to do all of them because I have to teach everybody all of them, and yes, it is really time-consuming.
Yeah.
And the technology. But you don't have to. It's about knowing what is best for you, for your business, with your client. That's what I say to you. Work out how they want to hear you, where they want to hear you. And then that's where you build your strategy. And then you become an expert in that, in delivering in that way, rather than trying to deliver in every single way you can.
Yeah.
Because, and it's a bit like using social media. When you first start, there is so much of it. What do you do? And every marketer and social media marketer will tell you, find one or two where your clients are and just get really, really good with those. Don't go off the hand, Live streaming, I have to tell you, is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Huge. There is not a lot of training around it at the moment. There are millions of platforms for it, going from free to £800 a month. But it is, and again, that's about saying, just because it's new and just because it's, do I need it? 9 times out of 10, no, actually, you don't need it, because whenever I live stream, I know I'm lucky if I get 3 people who just happen to come across me at that point in time listening, or I schedule it and everybody knows I'm going to, but most people, the majority of them will listen to it afterwards, and they'll listen to the recording.
Yeah.
So they're not getting it live necessarily, but that's the things you have to think about. Is it worth my investment of time, my investment of fear, my investment of the whole thing? And we will go through those strategies and work that out for you. Okay. But podcasting is one of the quickest and easiest ways to, 1, get used to being interviewed, 2, get used to talking about your product, and it will get you out to an audience you won't necessarily at this stage have access to. So, for instance, when I do my podcast, it's for women in business, and you'll be talking about you as a woman in business. You will talk about your products, but predominantly the feel of the podcast is about women in business. So it's a two-way, we're having that conversation, but you're able to put in there what you do, the products you share, why you do these things. And so people are going, oh, I like that. And I like the sound of that voice. And she sounds like she really knows what she's doing. And then make sure that whoever's doing the podcast gives them all your contact details.
Yeah.
And then for 15 minutes of chatting to somebody on a platform like this, you may get 3 or 4 leads that come through because they like the sound of your voice or they like your look. We're back to that idea that we build relationships, and people like to buy from people they know. And in order to build that relationship and get to know you, they've got to see you and they've got to hear you in exactly the same way as, you know, with past the days of somebody knocking on the door to sell us dusters. We don't do it because we don't know them, and it's a scary world. But if your mate down the road has started selling dusters through something and she pops to your door, then you're more likely to listen.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to go, well, I don't need them yet, but I'll come and talk to you next week when I've run out of dusters, whatever it may be. So being seen and being heard is actually really important, but it's about being seen and heard in the right place. And I'm very, very passionate about the idea that you don't waste your time and energy in places that aren't doing you any good, because you must have seen some of these. I'm sure all of you have at some point on Facebook, somebody's popped up, they're doing a live stream now, and you thought, oh, I'll just go and have a listen. And they're rambling on about something. You go, oh, I can't be listening to, and it's being used badly, and it's not doing anybody any favours. So, you know, that's why you need to be getting it right first time through. Okay, so podcasting, and I will make sure you all come onto my podcast. So one of the ways to do this is, if you think, actually, that sounds like a really good idea, I'm going to go out and do that today, is go onto iTunes and just have a look at the amount of podcasts on iTunes, and you can go through the categories. So you could go through spiritual, you could go through health, you know, product, network marketing, all of those things, and have a listen to some of these podcasts. They all have different feels to them and different things. And if you find one that you actually, that's great, I like that, and it fits with the sorts of things that I do, it's really interesting, all you have to do is contact the producer. There's usually their contact details in iTunes on their podcast, and say you'd be interested in being on their show, or, you know, this is what I do and I'd love to be part of it because you're brilliant. What we'll do later on is I have some sample emails and things that you can send to people like this to say, you know, I'd really like to be on that show or something like that. But get used to listening to some people's podcasts and start picking out the ones that you think, I really enjoy listening to this, and then work out why you enjoy listening to it. Is it because it's short, sharp and sweet? Mine are always short, sharp and sweet. Is it because they hit the message around the things you're interested in spot on? That, you know, you're really getting some good information from them. Is it because you like the sound of that person because it's really fun and everybody's laughing? Just have a listen to a few and figure out, because you may decide that actually doing your own podcast is a way to go forward in the future. At this stage, you won't know unless you start listening to other people's and think, is this something I want to put in my strategy? So just have a listen. It's your homework, one or two of them, okay? And the other thing is then, if you send emails to these people, you begin to build up a relationship with that person who's doing this podcast. You begin to build relationships with people in the same field of work you're in. Never be afraid of competition, because that's why I say if it's in your own voice, it doesn't matter. You could have 3 people from forever in a room, for instance, Elaine. Yet they'll all come out with 3 different messages about why they do it, why they sell, or why they use the products, because it will be their voice. I have personally coached 5 Arbonne consultants in the last month. And now every single one of them says something completely different, because they figured out why they do it and their unique things. So have a think about that. Podcasts are very powerful. Right, video. Everyone needs video. This is the one thing I'm going to say to you that you have to have, because Facebook now will push your video up on their postings. The more video you do, the more it's going to get to your lists of people, your contacts on Facebook. Google are the same. YouTube is owned by Google, so they will push the rankings for any YouTube video. People are lazy. People like to watch. Suddenly we don't want to read anymore or hear anymore. We like to watch. It's interactive. So video is a must. But a big however on this. Videos unless you're Spielberg and you're doing the next Pirates of the Caribbean, do not make your video too long. because people also get bored very quickly.
Yeah.
What is the world coming to? We get bored very quickly. And it's back to, what are you saying? Are you selling? Are you informing? Are you changing minds? It's the same thing with a video. So your front page video needs to be you smiling. Hi, I'm Hazel. Holistic Haven. Anything you need because you want an alternative to modern medicine. This is the right place to be. And that's all it needs to be. And people have gone, oh, that's nice. Well, I'll go click through it a bit more. If you've gone, hi, sorry, Hazel, I'm picking on you. Hi, I'm Hazel. I run Holistic Haven, and Holistic Haven, I can do Reiki, and I can do reflexology, and I can do earwax candles, and I can do... Most people have gone, what the hell's Reiki? Unless they're in your field of work. What do you mean, Hopi candles? What does that mean? Oh, they've gone away. So it's about pulling them in, grabbing them, giving them a little tidbit so they go, look, now you may have different pages, and one of your pages, going to go down to Becky now. So transformational thinking, we're all going, even I struggle with that. Okay, I think I know what that means, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So your front page will be, hi, I'm Becky, and I offer something different. It's called whatever, but go and find out what it's all about. So you might have a page that just explains that. So people have gone, yeah, I'm going to go and read that and find out more. Yeah. Or you may have a video that explains it in a bit more. And it may be that just underneath that video, you have a thing saying, do you want a half-hour free chat about what it is and how it can help you? And they go, that's what I need. They come to you instead of going and reading it. So actually, that's almost all you need on your front page. Because your front page is like your window dressing. It's like you walk past that window and you look in and you go, and you get it absolutely. And you go, I've got to go in. Because, you know, it's like that amazing pair of shoes. That's the only pair of shoes in the window. And I've gone past, but oh my God, look at those shoes. And there's a little sign above it going, come in and try them on. And I've just gone, okay. I've gone in to see if I could try on the shoes and walk in them. If that window has 101 pairs of shoes in all different colours and all different shapes and all different sizes, my brain won't pick it up. My brain will go, oh, they're nice, and I might, but I won't go in because it's almost too much. That makes sense? So think of your front page like that. It's literally a signpost to where you want people to go. And the easier people find to follow their route on your website, that's why I say, you know, go and read about it for the people who love to read. And if you've done sort of the NLP type stuff, you know the different ways we learn. That some people want to read it, some people want to hear it, some people may just want to pick up the phone and talk to you directly. That is just the way we work as humans. But your job is to ensure that they come and talk to you. That's what you want, because that's where your expertise is. You want them to be talking to you. You want them to become leads. You want them to become potential customers. And the more that they're understanding you when you're speaking, the more that they're tuning into you and what you're talking about, the more likely they are. So Becky, you have a lovely your video you did the other day, beautiful. It
was a bit long.
Approach, and you drew people in, and I loved it. I mean, yeah, there were a few things that you and I will talk about.
Yay.
But, and now I don't do videos like that. I don't do soft videos. Anybody who's seen my videos going bang, 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 bang. And at Toastmasters, the one thing they tell me all the time is, Bev, can you be a little quieter? Pull it in a bit. It's like, no. But that's the way I work. So that if I was doing what you do, Becky, people would never come near me. I'd be too scared. The bully. Yeah. So it is about having your voice, and it is about, and it's also about, Hazel, being confident about what you do.
Yeah.
Be able to say it with confidence. So if you're confident, people are confident. So when you talk about, you know, holistic therapies, when you talk about card reading, and actually I've noticed this, when you're doing your holistic therapies, you're fine, you're very confident.
Yeah.
When you talk about your card readings and being a clairvoyant or a medium, you're almost apologizing to people in case you upset them, because they may not really be into that and they'll think you're a bit weird.
Yeah.
Get over yourself, Hazel, because those of us, and it's not,
I have to.
some people go, rubbish. that's fine. You don't want to work with them anyway. But
Yeah.
those of us that go, I get that and I believe that and I understand that, need you to be confidently telling us that that's okay to come to you. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I did a card reading the other week, and I just went for it. I just said,
Good girl.
there.
Well, that's your job. You're supposed
Yeah.
to tell them what's there. You can't decide what you will or will not tell them. Spirit will be very annoyed if you do that. So it is slightly different for you, but I think when you're doing your videos online or you're doing anything speaking about what you're doing, when you're going to ladies' events and talking, or still any event, and talking about your business and what you do, you just need to be a little bit confident in what you do. And it doesn't matter if all the audience don't get it. It doesn't matter. Yes, if you're going to go and talk to the Catholic clergy, don't bother. Just don't go there. Trust me, they'll be exercising you.
Yeah.
And you know that. However, if you go to a group of mixed audience, you know that logically there's going to be at least one or two in there who are either interested, curious, or very much involved.
Yeah.
And you're the person they need to talk to if they want to know more. That's vital. And it's the same, Elaine, for you. You are very confident about the products. Very, very you know your products inside out. I've seen you do it at Wimbledon. And it's about you just being far more clear on what message you're giving. Whenever you're talking. Are you talking with your, I've got the product hat on and you need to be buying these products because it can make you look lovely? Or are you talking on the, this is business head and do you want to join my team and this is what you're going to get if you join my team?
Yeah.
Hat, same person, same two different messages.
Definitely.
So it's about knowing which one are you doing, or, and this is a big or, is your overall message the same thing? For instance, Sarah Mills won't mind me telling you this. She had this issue. She does Arbonne, one selling products. But actually, when we dug down, Sarah's message was financial and health freedom, which actually encompassed both. One, because she wanted to use plant-based products and natural products and all that sort of thing. And two, because then she loved it so much, she turned it into a business. So created a message for her that encompassed both. So she could talk about both. It just changes slightly depending on the audience. So video, really important. Now, my tip is don't get hung up on getting it perfect. I recorded it 7 or 8 times and it still isn't right. Trust me, by the 7th or 8th time, it will never be right.
I did mine twice.
Yeah, twice is about the limit, because then what happens is the brain gets stuck on that mistake and you'll end up making more. The other thing is, people want to know you're human. They don't want to think you're this robot that, you know, can just spout out a video and doesn't have a few ums and ers. And, you know, and for me, slight disadvantage when I'm talking to people, because I've been trained so I don't and and I can just, people are terrified. So I go, no, because I'll never be able to talk like you, Bet. So I'm not saying I'm perfect, but being at that level can be a disadvantage if the people you're talking to are people that just aren't interested in the technicals of video. They're not interested in whether, you know, you've done it in one take or you've done a few ums and ahs, or you've got, oh, excuse me, I just had a drink, so I've got a frog in my throat. Real people want to think that you're having a chat with them and that you are going to have a swig of your cup of tea halfway through it. And you are going to go, oh, I'm sorry, I've tripped over my words and that was a bit of a mistake. They want to know that. Because that way they're relating to you and they're emotionally invested in you. And, you know, I've seen people go absolutely disastrously wrong, and actually I'm there going, I'm going to stay here till the end because I actually feel really sorry for her or him, and I want him to get to the end there. And then there's others that I've looked at and gone, don't patronise me, don't talk down to me, and I've switched off 2 seconds later. So don't worry about it being perfect, ever. Just go for it, just like you did, Becky. Becky did. You haven't seen it, you need to go find. Becky, can I ask you to share that video into the unicorn group?
Okay, yeah, I'll do that in a minute. Yeah,
she just
I
went
think I haven't watched it since I made it.
That's fine, but it's interesting for other people to see how Becky just went, we're talking about, I'm going to do it, did it.
Yeah, I just made myself do it.
Yes,
right.
So later on, yeah, just pop it in that group, okay? And you can do it on your computer, you can do it on your phone, it doesn't matter.
I'm trying to do it right now on the computer, so you've gone away for a moment, but you're still there.
Yeah, so think about, if you're doing it on your phone, gets a bit technical, I advise people not to do it on their phone unless their phone is in a holder, because if you're holding it, it will wobble, and then people feel like they're going to be sick, because it's like being on a ship. You don't like this all the time. If you do use a holder and do it on your mobile, do it sideways, because otherwise you get black light. But I'm going to put that all in a sheet in the membership about the technical stuff. We're going to talk about the technical stuff today. So who's going to do video then?
Me.
Yay!
I will do some more for my website.
Yes, yes. And again, when you look at your strategy, we're going to look at what sort of video needs to go where. You know, is it social media video? Is it your website video? Which page on your website is it? So, you know, like your about page is more about you telling people what if you want, you know, I have videos on everywhere because I don't like writing, but some people will, you know, have a video actually introducing themselves on their about me page. So we'll look at those. Okay. Right. The other thing about video is it helps you tell a story, and humans are hardwired to actually engage with stories. It is the original way of communicating. It's how we used to pass on history. It shows your personality. It shows that you understand. So if you have a really good backstory, and we all have a backstory, don't ever think you haven't. We all have a good backstory. Video will help you tell that story, and it creates another layer of trust and relationship building. So, you know, how did Hazel become, you know, a card reader and all the rest of it? Why did Becky suddenly go into, or suddenly, you know, what made her want to become a transformational coach?
All right, it's all on my website. It tells you.
That's it. And if you can tell it as a story, and there's an art to telling stories, people will always buy into the story. They love the story. I talk a lot about how I came to be doing this because I got ill and I couldn't do what I was doing before, and hubby told me I talked too much, and that set off this whole thing. So we all have a backstory that people love to hear, and that story is something we're going to work on, because you can use it online and offline. It is part of your brand, your story. And women who run small to medium-sized businesses, part of their brand should include their story, so that other people come forward and relate to your story and buy into it. Especially, Elaine, when you're talking about people becoming part of your team, they also want to buy into the team story, into the team brand, into your story, and relate to it. And, you know, it's like, for me, I started doing Arbonne because of my daughter, who now has a job and is not going to do it anymore. So I'm like, oh, thank you very much. But I would be talking to women over 50 with no pension, because my story is actually I haven't built up a bit of pension. That's why I've added this on. So one of the other things we'll be working on as we go through this is your backstory. Okay, we all have a story. Presentations are another great way to talk to your client. Presentations are different to talks. They're different to video. Ooh, another phone call. It's all right.
Yeah. Let's go.
So if you're asked to speak, the first thing I'm going to say to you is don't let the fear stop you. Don't. They're not always in front of hundreds of people. A presentation can be done at a networking event. And for me, the difference between a presentation and a talk is a presentation will 9 times out of 10 include overheads or some sort of graphics or some sort of other engagement. And you're presenting something specific to your audience. How many of us have been, you know, especially in our working life when we work for other people, to presentations, and we sat there 27 slides later, not really knowing what it's about. With so much information, we go, what am I supposed to do now? Presentations, if they're simple and powerful, are really, really useful. And the reason that you use overheads, or, you know, the whole back sort of thing with presentation is, again, we retain information differently. So some people will be listening to you and will be going in. Some people will be watching the. I'm very visual. I learn if things are written in colour. I learn if they have pictures. I learn if it's, you know, has some wacky poster going on. I don't retain information if I have to just sit and listen to it. Not very well. And that's when I would make notes in all different colours, so that when I go home and read it, it's all in different colours. So you have to understand that if you really want your message to get to as many people as possible, there has to be different ways in which you put it forward. So presentations at Network, so we all do our 60-second. Try and get yourself booked in for that, you know, the 15-minute that some people do, or the 5-minute. Or if you're in Jill's groups, do the workshop. Elaine and Becky and Hazel do the workshop. Because now you have me to help you put it together.
Yay!
Those sorts of presentations mean you go from your 60 seconds of just telling them what the problem is and how you solve it. And if those of you I haven't done an elevator pitch, that'll be part of this as well. We're going to do that with you. To widening it out into what you do and why you do it. So now we're talking about the therapies. We're talking about what they're good for, what they do, and why people should have them, to a very clear call to action. So you're beginning to extend. Once you learn how to extend, you can almost pick that package up. And anybody asks you to speak, you can almost pick that package up and go and either make it 60 seconds, 5 minutes, or 15 minutes. So when they ask you, don't say no. You ask them poignant questions and you go for it. Okay. And when we get onto the whole thing about audiences, you'll begin to understand what sort of questions you need to ask. Right. Back to the selling thing. Again, why you're speaking. You sell without selling. That is the power of the voice. It is the power of our human psychology. It is the power of how words can influence people. It is the magic of language. Oh, how poetic was that? If I could remember that, I'd write it all down again. The front page. Sorry. Selling without selling is understanding who you're talking to, understanding what they want to hear, and understanding how they want to hear it. So if you've got somebody over 50, for instance, it's a group of over 50s who really want to lovely in their older age, nearing pension, giving up work, really want to give up on the conventional, you know, antidepressants and hormone tablets and everything else, and don't know how they could change that. They just know they do. And actually, any three of you could go along and chat about what you do, why you do it, and the problems you could solve, and sell what you do to that group of people without actually saying, I've got this amazing product, and if you pay $29.99, you can have it too. Because they will buy into you. And I think, and I'm certainly getting, as I get older, I am more inclined to buy into the person than I am the product, because I've been stung too many times. As we get older, we become wiser. And I think, you know, we don't believe in these miracles that are supposed to happen. You know, you watch the you know, you're so worth it stuff. We don't want to be spending £80 on a moisturiser that actually doesn't do any more than the pound one we got. And often we don't realise that there are alternatives out there that do work, but because the advertising is different, they're not aware of it. Transformational, all of that sort of stuff. A lot of women, friends of mine who have gone through, I'm going to say, a normal life, and they've worked and they've left work and they've gone to the doctor, they've done all that. You know, they are looking for something different, but they don't know what they're looking for. They don't know there's an alternative. And that's what you have to remember. A lot of people will have problems, but they don't know what the alternative to that problem is unless you tell them in your voice what the alternatives are. So when you think about selling, it's not about selling. It's about offering solutions to people. And this is why some people online will pay thousands upon thousands because they think they're going to become millionaires. Because their pain point and their problem is so high, or they've inherited a bunch of money from somebody else. I, for instance, did a masterclass. I went onto a masterclass about building business, and it was a freebie. It was a tester, and I knew that at the end of this thing was going to come the big sell. But actually, it was a really, really good masterclass that gave me some things to think about. And then the sales pitch at the end comes. You can either pay £12,000 a year, £20,000 a year, or £30,000 a year, with this almost guarantee that you'd make that money back in 2 months. And at my age now, 2 years ago, I might have gone, oh yeah, where am I going to find the money? But I look at it now and I go, actually, if I had £30,000 a year, I'd be really happy I was doing well in my business. I'd be investing in my business, and I wouldn't need to be coming to you because I'd be making money. As we get older, we become more cynical and become wiser. So bear in mind the age of your audience as well when you're thinking about how you're solving somebody's problem. If you go to an event that you know is full of people that are unemployed looking to move into employment, and I know a lot of women that do work about confidence, all that sort of thing, no point going along there and selling them a product that, you know, come online for 6 weeks, it's only going to cost you 790 whatever pounds. Even if they want to, they can't. How many of us have got on a webinar and went, I'd really, really love to work with that person, and they've gone, that's fine, that will cost you 97 a month, and we've gone, I don't have that sort of, you know, I would love to, but I can't. So you have to know who your audience are, and you have to know what you're offering. So if your offering is an expensive luxury item, you know, what they call the high-end range of coaching, don't go to an audience full of people on benefits, because one, they can't afford you, and two, all that happens is they become so disappointed that they don't even follow you anymore. They feel like they've been let down. So you have to know who you're, that's why I go back to, you have to absolutely know who you're talking to, what they want to hear and how they want to hear it. And that way you don't have to hard sell at all, because you've figured out how to talk to those people and you know what they want to hear. I want to work with lots of women. I want to be a millionaire, who doesn't? But I don't want to be offering courses to people that I know, because I work with women that are on their own, working from their kitchen table, who do not have huge amounts of money to be paying me £2,000 a month to learn what I do. That's ridiculous. And I would feel really awkward doing it, and I would feel really uncomfortable. If I had a program like that, I would not be in Facebook. I'd be in LinkedIn talking to corporate companies who would pay that money for their staff, or into businesses that are high-end blue chip, who can afford that. I wouldn't be, you'd get exactly the same program. And that's the stupid thing, exactly the same program. But for some reason, blue chip companies feel that if they're not paying £2,000 a month for you, it's not worth it. Crazy. So my message there after that rant is, just know who you're talking to and what they want to hear. It's a ridiculous world we live in, but there you go. So, time to talk, people. You have to change your mindset, and that's something else we're going to do a lot of work on, your mindset. You talk to people all the time. If you're out with a group of friends and you're chatting about your week, you may be going, oh, and I, you know, this product sold really well, and oh, what product's that? Oh, it does this, this, and this. You haven't thought about it. You've just had a chat. And if you think about public speaking or speaking to grow your business, speaking effectively is actually you're having a chat with the people who need what you have. Once you've figured out they need it, and you're the only person who can give it to them, don't be rotten, horrible people and not give it to them. Because that's just so unfair. You're the only person. And once you find the uniqueness of what you do, and you have that confidence that you're not competing with everybody else, you're not there to compare yourself with anybody else, you are unique in your own way and priceless in your own way, then you have to give what you do to people because that's why you do it. Otherwise, you might as well sit in your house, pat yourself on the back that you can read your own tarot, Hazel. You can use your own products, Elaine. You can transform yourself, Becky, and never talk to anybody else again because that's okay. No, it's not. And that's why I say you have to get over yourself. It's not about you. It's about the amazing work you do, that amazing work you do that you need to share with other people who want to pay you to do it. In exactly the same way they have to go to Tesco's and buy their food, they need to pay to come and see you. And you have to be confident enough.
I'm just going to have to move.
Okay, as long as you can still hear me.
Yeah. My husband's just come home with the dog, so I'm going to move.
Yeah, you have to be confident in knowing that you are worth what you are charging. And that is really important because if you're not, people will then see that thing and go, oh, she's not sure, I'm not sure I want to pay it. So you have to be really clear about what you're charging in your head and know you're worth it, and then stand up and tell people about what you do and why they need to pay for it. And the funny thing is, when I used to work in the voluntary sector, we had lots of funding to put on free courses for people. And what we discovered after a year was that we actually ended up having to charge, even if it was only £5, and we gave it back to them afterwards. People only really took any notice and got any benefit when they'd invested something in that course, even if it was only £5. When they were getting it for free, it wasn't worth it. It was an excuse to come and sit around with people and have a glass of whatever and a cup of tea and a biscuit. And it was really interesting because we thought, well, people are, they can't afford it. We've got free education, we've got free this. Didn't work.
They don't value it.
No, there was no value in it at all. They wanted to remember the value in what you do, and that is why people pay for it. And
I'm really sorry, I've got to go.
Okay, Elaine.
Really sorry.
No, that's all right. We're just finishing off. I will contact you later and we'll get a date in for your one-to-one, okay?
Fantastic. Thank you. It's brilliant. Thank you so much.
All right,
okay.
bye, Elaine.
Bye.
Bye.
So remember that, you need to value it. And the more money people pay, the more they value it.
I'm just putting my prices up.
Yes.
Yeah, I've just done the same as well.
I've just got my card machine. I can take payment plans.
See, you can always offer instalments, but if you feel that the amount of effort and time you put into a course is worth £500, then if you know that some of your people can't pay that in one go because you know your audience, your clients really well, you can always offer instalments.
Yeah.
If that's the value of your time and your effort and your energy, don't put it down. I have to say, I utterly dislike the people that offer these huge things for huge amounts of money, and actually there is no substance and no real value to what they offer. For me, if I'm going to put something on at that amount of money, I want to know that people are going to get an absolute benefit from it and be able to go away and do something with it. So for me, there is a fine line to walk, but that doesn't mean to say that I'm not, for some services I do, worth a lot more. And you have to be the same. If you want to offer it cheaper, like I put this in at the early bird price because I wanted to, that's different. I made that choice. And that's the difference between me going, I'm not worth more. I'm not going to charge any more. It's about making a choice about what you charge. All right? Okay. So what you need to think about, you can speak online and offline. And we will look at both of those when we do the strategies together, where you should be speaking, online and offline. And live streaming has become, this in a sense is live coaching, although it will be recorded. And the reason I like live coaching is it gives you the chance to ask me questions. It gives us a chance to have a chat. It gives me the chance to see if you're going, what's she talking about? Or people are nodding their heads and making notes. So I like live coaching, and I think if you are going to do coaching, live coaching is great, and Zoom's brilliant because it records it and then you can put it out and people can go back to it. So, and almost every coach I know has jumped onto this live streaming thing. They don't all do it brilliantly, but they have jumped onto it. And I think it's much easier to do it this way where you know you've spent half an hour to an hour with me going through that, and then you don't have to think, oh, I've got to go into the website, I've got to stop what I'm doing, I'm going to listen to it and then follow it through, and oh God, I didn't really get that, I better email her. So for me, this works brilliantly. So think about that when you're thinking about. So you need to get over the fear. We're going to work on that. And that's about confidence. That's about knowing what you're worth. That's about knowing you're the only person who can do what you do because of the way you do it. But you do need to plan. These people that go, I just wing it. I just get up there and make it up. Fine. You know, that's lovely. But if you don't plan, you don't always say what you want to say. You don't always tell people exactly what you want them to hear at that time. You go off on tangents. You don't know how to come back. So planning for me is really important. Given the opportunity, I plan. I'm not saying I have like a business plan and a great, but I always have these, who am I talking to? What do I want to tell them? How do they want to hear it? You know, what very key questions that in my head is part of my plan. And again, you will get a lot of these templates around, okay, you're going to plan, these are things to think about, and you'll be getting exercises when you say to me, I've got a speech to do or a talk to do, I will be saying to you, right, this is, you think about this plan, go through that, and then you'll know exactly how to present what you want to say to those people. So don't wing it. When you're planning it, you need to know what your outcomes are. Always know what you want from that talk. Always. Otherwise you won't get it. Okay? And that's why I say about, are you informing, are you selling, or are you changing minds? You need to have an outcome. How you're going to get that outcome. So what message are you going to give to them? Okay? And what problem you are solving. And how are you going to know that you've got that outcome? For instance, if it's changing minds, and you're not necessarily selling anything, you're changing minds, one of the outcomes you want is that, you know, people in your audience, even if it's only one, begins to understand what you do and wants to know more. And so if your call to action at the end is come and chat to me after if you'd like a little bit more information, or if you want a free, you know, half-hour phone call, if people come and do that, you know you've achieved your outcome. It is as simple as that. It's not about having all these great big evaluation charts and anything like that, but you need to know that, because then if nobody comes, you might want to look at it. Why didn't they come? Maybe I just need to change that call to action a bit. Maybe I just need to make that a bit clearer. Maybe or maybe it's just because it was just before lunch and lunch was being said and they couldn't be bothered to stop and ask. There's all sorts of reasons, but knowing what you want from it, and then in the back of your head knowing how am I going to know I've got what I want from it is really quite key. And you get to do that actually as you get more and more used to this. You almost do this subconsciously. You think to yourself, okay, I'm doing my 60-second. What do I want from this? Well, I want everybody to go away and tell somebody else. And so you might say at the end, because they've heard you talk so many times, it'd be really nice if you now went away, took my cards and explained it to a friend of yours and see if they want to come back and find out some more. It could be as simple as that. All right? So outcomes, how and why. You see, you thought you just opened your mouth and talked, didn't you? You thought it was all really simple. It sounds hot, but it isn't. Trust me, as you go through it, you'll realise you're already doing this subconsciously. All I'm doing is saying to you, if you've got it in the back of your head when you're doing this, your speaking will be effective rather than just ad hoc and I'm just talking, and you will know what you want from it, and that makes it an effective use of your time. Right, so what your goals are going to be. See, what are your goals for this? So by October, you will have planned where you would like to speak, online and offline, okay? And it may be that, some of these things but you might come across things that I haven't even thought about, at the local bingo hall, at the, whatever it is, you're going to plan where you want to speak, online and off. Between sort of the October, November time, we're going to have an outline of your presentation or talk or speech, whatever you want to call it, about, related to where you want to speak. Or if it's an online course, you want to put together the outline of that. But we're going to start working on that outline. By November, you'll have organised your messages. And I say messages, this is really important. If you decide you're going to live stream, you can only, I live stream and I give one message at a time. I have a list of various messages I can give around public speaking or speaking online or live streaming. I actually did it as, I used mind map at one point. So video. I have a whole list of topics I can talk about on video. So I can talk about the technical, what's your background look like? Are you sitting comfortably? Is the lighting right? Or I can talk about the message. What are you going to talk about? What's your key message? But each one is a different live stream. So I can go down and go, that's the one I'm going to do today. And what I do is I build up a catalogue then of videos of all these different messages that actually then can become a course if you've planned it really well. So you're not doubling up on things. You can only give one message at a time because as humans, we're going to organise your messages and the different messages you've got to give. And then by the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, you will have done one speaking thing at least on or offline. Yeah? I will include your elevator pitch if you haven't already worked with me to do that.
Cool.
Happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah? Good. So I think that's the end of that. So what you should be saying is, by the end of the year, I have a great video up on social media. I've been interviewed on a podcast and I can't see because your faces are in the way. I did a live stream in my group.
Yay.
That's what I want you to be able to say to yourselves by the end of the year, going into the new year, okay? And I'm going to include live streaming, and the only reason you may decide it's not for you, but I'll tell you what live streaming does do for you. It really helps with confidence. It really helps you be able to speak ad hoc because you have to accept the mistakes you make and keep going, just like you would on a live stage. So it's a really, really good, especially if you're in your own group and you're in a safe group and they know you and it's all fine. So that is what's going to be happening. So speak as often as you can to as many people as you can. That is going to be our mantra through this whole thing. Yeah? And then good luck. Okay? So, right then, let me just stop sharing my screen.
Yay, there you are.
Then. Right, Becky, any questions?
No, I've written lists.
Got lists, right, okay. Do you have any speaking things coming up at any time soon?
Well, I want to do more as soon as possible.
Okay, right, well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll get at the time. We might be a bit late together, but that'll be fine.
I need a week.
Yeah.
Going to cash for the coffee, and I look forward to our coffee meeting.
Yep, no worries, that's good. Hazel.
I'll bring my notes with me.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Hello.
Any questions, darling?
Those goals, I think I want to do those as soon as possible.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that on Friday. I need to get them running because I'd like to do a video for my website.
Yeah. Okay. I will have a look at the video on your website before Friday. And
I haven't done one yet.
Oh, you haven't got it yet? Oh, right.
No.
Even better. Yeah, we'll look at that. Okay, and then what we could do is, when you're happy with that, we can do a bit of a session and actually record it.
Okay.
Yeah?
I have written it down, actually. The words.
Good. Okay, but then we have to work on reading without sounding like you're reading.
Yeah.
I know that one.
Yeah. Art in itself, reading without, So that's what we'll do with you, Hazel, on Friday. So Thank you for that. This will be up in the members area by the end of the day. And this, the presentation bit, the slides are actually there. They'll be, I think they're in the resources thing, but I'll put a post up saying that's where they are. I might actually put them also in the Facebook group because you can put documents in the Facebook groups now. So
yeah, that'll be good actually.
Yeah, keep it all in there. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put the recording in the Facebook group and I'll put the slides in the Facebook group. Then you don't have to go looking for anything. It will be there. Okay?
Fantastic.
Excellent. So that's all, my darlings. I need to finish my tea before I go meet Becky down in Blandford.
More coffee.
I'll see you Friday, Hazel.
Yes.
And you know where I am
Yes,
if
you
you
will.
need me.
Thanks, Bev.
Thanks, Bev. Bye.